My name is Amina. I am 10 years old. I live in Aleppo, Syria, with my mother and my little brother, Omar. My father is not here. He went away when the war started. My mother says he will come back one day. I hope so. Our home is small. We have only 2 rooms. The walls are old, and the roof has holes. When it rains, the water trickles inside, pooling on the cracked floor. But my mother always finds a way to keep us warm, wrapping us in blankets and singing softly until the storm passes. She is very strong. Every morning, before the sun rises, she kneads dough and bakes bread to sell in the market. Omar and I help her carry the heavy baskets, our hands dusty with flour. I do not go to school. There was a school near our house, but it was destroyed last year. Now I stay home with Omar. I teach him the alphabet using chalk on broken pieces of concrete, and we read from an old book my mother found in the rubble. Its pages are torn, but the stories about faraway lands and brave heroes still shine through. I dream of going to school one day, learning many things, and becoming a teacher. The streets of Aleppo are not safe. Sometimes we hear loud noises, bombs exploding in the distance. When that happens, we run to the basement of our neighbor's house. There we sit in the dark, huddled together. My mother holds us close, her voice steady as she whispers, "Be brave, my children." I try to be brave for Omar, squeezing his small hand until the noises fade. Everything changed. One day, the noise was too close. A deafening roar shook the ground, and our house collapsed. Dust filled the air as my mother grabbed our hands. "Run," she shouted. We ran past the market, now a skeleton of shattered stalls, past the mosque with its broken minaret, past everything we knew. My heart pounded as we reached a truck crowded with people. The driver leaned out, his face streaked with sweat. "We go to Turkey. Come now." We climbed inside, pressed between strangers. My mother held Omar and me tightly as the truck lurched forward. I looked back, but Aleppo was already disappearing into smoke and dust. The journey to Turkey was long and bumpy. The truck rumbled over uneven roads, and the air grew colder as night fell. Relief and sadness twisted inside me, relief to escape the danger, but sadness to leave behind our home, my father's empty chair, the scent of jasmine that once bloomed in our courtyard. When we crossed the border into Turkey, strangers offered us bread and blankets. Their kindness made me cry. A new life in Gaziantep. We arrived in Gaziantep, a bustling city where the streets hummed with voices we didn't understand. My mother found a tiny room for us to rent, its walls bare but its roof intact. She began working in a restaurant, chopping vegetables and stirring pots of lentil soup. The owner, a gruff man with a warm heart, sometimes gave us extra bread. "For the children," he'd say, patting Omar's head. For weeks, Omar and I stayed indoors, too afraid to wander the unfamiliar streets. But one morning my mother knelt beside me. "Amina, you will go to school," she said firmly. My stomach fluttered. I didn't know Turkish. What if the children laughed at me? On the first day, a girl named Elif sat next to me. She had big brown eyes and a smile that reminded me of sunlight. "Merhaba," she said, pointing to herself. "Hello," she became my shadow, teaching me words like teşekkür ederim, thank you, and kitab, book. My teacher, Mrs. Fatma, gave me a notebook with a blue cover. "Write your story, Amina," she urged. And so I did. At night, by the dim light of a single bowl, I wrote about Aleppo. The sound of my father's laughter, the warmth of my mother's bread, the fear that clung to us like shadows. Writing made me feel strong, as if my words could rebuild what the war had stolen. The journey to Greece. Months later, my mother woke me before dawn. "We go to Greece," she whispered, her voice trembling. "It is a long journey, but we must try." I tucked my notebook into my bag, its pages now filled with memories and dreams. We traveled to the coast, joining crowds of Syrians, Afghans, and Iraqis, all with tired eyes and small bags. The sea was dark and restless. A man shouted, "Go, go, go," as we climbed into a boat meant for half as many people. Omar buried his face in my mother's shoulder, crying as waves slammed against the hull. Water seeped inside, icy and relentless. A woman screamed, and a man prayed loudly, his voice blending with the wind. I closed my eyes, thinking of Aleppo's streets, Mrs. Fatma's gentle voice, and Elif's laughter. Hours blurred into an eternity until someone shouted, "Land." People in orange vests waded into the water, pulling us ashore. "Welcome to Lesbos," they said. My legs shook as I stepped onto the pebbled beach. Hope in Athens. In Athens, we stayed in a refugee camp, a maze of tents and makeshift shelters. My mother cleaned houses, her hands growing rough from scrubbing floors. Omar and I attended a school for refugees, where I learned Greek words like elpida, hope, and historia, story. One day, a woman named Maria visited, her arms full of books. "You can learn anything," she said, handing me pencils and paper. I wrote about the boat journey, the cold, the fear, and the orange vests that saved us. Maria read my story and hugged me. "You are brave, Amina. You have a gift." Months later, Maria returned with news. "Your family will go to Germany. A program there will help you." We packed our bags, and I clutched my notebook tightly, wondering if I'd ever see Maria again. A new beginning in Berlin. Berlin was cold, its gray skies a stark contrast to Aleppo's sun. A man named Mr. Schmidt met us at the station, helping us find a small apartment. "This is your new home," he said. School was hard. German twisted my tongue, and the children stared at my faded clothes. But I remembered Elif's patience, Mrs. Fatma's encouragement, and Maria's faith in me. I practiced every night, writing stories in my now tattered notebook. One day, my teacher announced a writing contest. I wrote about Aleppo's ruins, the boat's violent waves, and the hope that carried us forward. Weeks later, she handed me an envelope. My hands shook as I read, "Winner, Amina al-Mansour." Tears streamed down my face as my mother hugged me. Omar clapped, grinning. In that moment, I realized I was no longer just a refugee. I was a writer, a storyteller who would bridge the past and the future. The end, but also the beginning. My name is Amina. I am 16 now. My mother bakes bread in a Berlin bakery, its smell weaving through our new life. Omar studies hard, dreaming of becoming a doctor. And I still write, my stories now bound in a book titled From Aleppo, with hope. Maria visited last year. She held my book, her eyes glistening. "You've become a beacon, Amina," she said. "You see, my story doesn't end with bombs or borders. It doesn't end with loss. It lives in every word I write, in every child who hears my story and dares to hope. I am not just a girl from Aleppo. I am strong. I am brave. I am a storyteller."